the first poem by him. I've read a couple of his books since then. He's a very deep and philosophical thinker. He's well known for his poetry and also for his I'm blanking on the word. What's the word? The aphorisms.
Yes, I love those aphorisms.
Yes, he's a very and he's very committed. He's very committed to this cause, and he has a forthcoming book out called Palestinian Wail, which he gave me a sneak peek of. I highly recommend it, and he's going to share a little bit of that for us. So you have the floor. Yeah, do your thing.
Thank you.
Say a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Jim, for the invite. Thank you all for this very encouraging gathering. Nigel, that was really tremendous. And I think just to hear, the more I hear that there's, what did you call it? The radical mutation in consciousness. I'm sensing that, but it's nice to see it represented in actual people that one is interacting with. I am an Egyptian born human. My mother's Egyptian, my dad is Lebanese. My grandparents are Palestinian. My grandmother, whom my forthcoming book is dedicated to, was a Palestinian educator, an activist, a social worker. She was made to leave her ancestral home at gunpoint in Jerusalem. And I was hoping in some ways that this book would be in honor of the remarkable life that she lived. She lived to 100 years old.
Wow.
And she's sort of, history on legs. And she always had this attitude, this very grand attitude, very incredibly inclusive to begin with, but also she refused to be defined by any of her suffering, setback, the many lives she had, the many countries she moved to and started again and again and again and again. And it was never that defined her. There was something beyond that. And I think it's her spirit that I want to honor as much as possible in this book. So I have a few poems to read. Is that a good introduction, or do you want me to go a little bit deeper? Is that fine? Okay, good. So my first poem is an open letter to Israel. And I begin with a Nietzsche aphorism. He who fights monsters should see to it that in the process, they do not become a monster themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, what steel entered your heart? What fear made you rabid? What hate drove out pity? How could you forget that how we fight a battle determines who we become? When did you grow reckless with the state of your soul? We are responsible for our enemy. Compassion is to consider the role that we play in their creation. And this is a Shakespeare quote. If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? End quote. Strange how one hate enables another, how they're like unconscious allies, darkly united in blocking out the light. Yes, we can lend ideas our breath, but ideals, peace, justice, freedom require our entire lives. And all who are tormented by these ideals must learn to make an ally of humility. Truth and conscience can be like large, bothersome flies. Brush them away, and they return buzzing louder. Tens of thousands slaughtered, 2/3 of whom are children and women. No, these are unbearable casualties to bear, to speak nothing of the intangible casualties. Damage done to our collective psyches, trust, and sleep, No more nightmares, please. Give us back our dreams. We can still begin again and must. Wisdom is a return to innocence. So I was heartened, as I suppose we all might have been, thank you, by the student protests. And I have another poem for, well, it's called Columbia University, but it's all the students really. Columbia University. Student encampments mushroom across American college campuses, registering overdue protests against corrupt governments, here and there, and us for failing them. Sites of the uneasy conscience of the divided states of America, where students are now the teachers. Praise these natural-born idealists, in other words, peace activists, for their unbridled vision and unbribable principles. Praise the young for reminding us there is no looking away. There is no foreign soil. There are no others. And it's a funny book. The book is coming along. Thank you. Thank you. The book is coming along as life unfolds. And I would like for it to be more peaceful and loving and embracing. But there are times when one is indignant, betrayed, angry, unfortunately. And this might be one of the slightly angrier ones. I hope not too angry because that's not very useful. This is called Radical Love. Radical love understands free the hostages also means all Palestinians living under an inhumane occupation. Stand with Israel means denouncing 700,000 Israeli settlers, since who understands better the curse of homelessness and wandering in the wilderness? Support Israel means disowning apartheid, ethnic cleansing, yes, genocide, because we solemnly swore before as one human family, nevermore. Bring them home refers to the right of return for some 14 million Palestinians scattered throughout an indifferent world. And I'm going to try to end on a hopeful note. The name of this poem is Hope. Hope's not quite as it seems. It's slimmer than you think and less steady on its feet. Sometimes it's out of breath, can hardly see ahead, and cries itself to sleep. It may not tell you all this, or the times it cheated death, but if you knew it, you'd know how hope can keep a secret. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
Yahia may have to slip out of the meeting early. He has another engagement, but he's welcome to stay. And I'd like to introduce, well, first, before I introduce Lou, who's going to speak about the pamphlet, this pamphlet here. I wanted to play a video of Mario Savio, who was one of the co-authors of the pamphlet, and in his famous speech that's quoted in the pamphlet. So I'm going to share my screen and play it for you.
Four students are getting the axe. 6 organizations are getting the axe for standing up this semester and for fighting for these things. They're getting the axe not for what they did, but for what we have done. They spoke for us, they were part of us, they have been singled out, and they're going to be chopped off. We were told the following: if President Kerr actually tried to get something more liberal out of the regions in his telephone conversation, why didn't he make some public statement to that effect? And the answer we received from a well-meaning liberal was the following. He said, would you ever imagine the manager of a firm making a statement publicly in opposition to his board of directors? That's the answer. I ask you to consider, if this is a firm, and if the Board of Regents are the Board of Directors, and if President Kerr, in fact, is the manager, then I tell you something, the faculty are a bunch of employees, and we're the raw materials. But we're a bunch of raw materials that don't mean to have any process upon us, don't mean to be made into any product, don't mean to end